Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel BethChatsBooks. Now today I am finally getting around to doing a tag video. So it's Saturday night, so I'm sorry that the quality is a little bit grainy and dark as it's the evening and I usually film during the day. But I had a chillax kind of day and then I just thought I would get around to filming something because at the moment I'm doing about once a week and it's kind of working out for me. So today I am going to do the Booktube top 10 tag. Now the original creator of this tag was Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse, but I was tagged by Jasmine over at Jasmine's Reads a while back to do this and I kind of have been putting it off a little bit because it was so difficult for me to think of my top 10 and they have to be ranked. I can't just say it's in no particular order because Jason kind of is monitoring everybody's responses and creating a little bit of a book chart based on people's responses. So it put me off because as a book lover I find it a very difficult question to be told what are your favourite books and books of all time and things you'd recommend to anyone, and it's just very stressful and difficult, so I wanted a bit of time to get to it. Then Jason kindly messaged me the other day to kind of remind me, so I've decided that I need to get it done. So these are basically my top 10 at the moment. Things will change and do change, but I basically went through my Goodreads and picked the top 10. I basically had a list of 15 and then had to narrow that down a little bit further, but these are my current top 10 that if a gun was put to my head and I had to create a top 10 list in rank order, this is what it would be. So I'm going to go from 10 to 1 and build slight suspense, although for a lot of people they probably will already know. But anyway, let's go. So number 10 is Lullaby by Layla Suskind. I read that book kind of later on this year, quite recently I should say, and I absolutely loved it. It's been very, very hyped, but for me it was a pleasurable reading experience. The characters have stuck with me, the story stuck with me, and I found it fascinating and I really enjoyed it. So number 9 is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia. Basically, I am butchering that, but because I don't have any of the books to hand, you'll be able to see it in the image I'll just pop up of it. But I read this book a while back now, over a year ago, and I just remember loving the story quite a lot. I was invested in the characters. I loved that the book wasn't necessarily conventional in terms of plot, and a lot of things kind of went on, but it went in a nice way where I kind of got to know the characters quite well, and I invested a lot in the characters, and the fact that the whole book was a little bit of a grey area about how people felt about each other. I just, for some bizarre reason, really connected with it, and it's always stuck in my head. So these are books that have kept in my head. And then number 8 is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. Now this book is haunting, and for a lot of people they really detest this book, but for me it really stayed with me and it's a classic for a reason. Oddly, I adored reading it, but if you get round to watching this video you'll see a lot of the books that I picked are fairly dark and disturbing, so it's a bit of a theme with me. I enjoy them. So number 7 is Days Without End by Sebastian Barry. That book is just beautiful, beautifully executed. There's such a beautiful aura about that book. It's just absolutely stunning and I recommend that one to anyone. Number 6 is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Now that book is by far the best dystopian I've ever read in my entire life, and I can say that because I've read quite a few now. There's something that is so deep about that book that deals with so many different issues. It's so multi-layered, and I really went into it expecting to not really love it as much as I did, and other dystopians that I thought I would love, like 1984, never really hit the same response that I got with that one, so it is very, very good. And then number 5 is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It is a classic for a reason. It's amazing. I often reread that book. It's my favourite Bronte novel. It's just fantastic, and I was really happy that when I watched Jason's video that book is also in his top 10. I don't know what to say about it. It's phenomenal. And then number 4 is Perfume by... Oh God, I've just forgotten who Perfume's by. It's pretty bad, isn't it? But anyway, you'll be able to find out who it is, and I'll obviously link all the books down below. But Perfume is very dark, but there's something about that book that... Basically, Perfume is a book that I also got the hype for and enjoyed as much as it was hyped to me. I think the premise is really interesting. I think the character is really dark but oddly fascinating. The story takes a few different directions that I didn't expect in terms of where it went. Still had me hooked. And I think it is definitely worth the hype. Then number 3, I've put Revolutionary Road by Richard Yates. This is a classic that I've always gone back to. I really enjoyed the film as well, but it's just a beautifully simple idea for a novel. It's just about a marriage, but it's not at all just about a marriage at the same time. The relationship is complex, and you want to pull your hair out at points, and you despair, and you're heartbroken, and it really does take you on a journey, and you really invest, and it's more about society at large. It's reflected in this couple. It's so fascinating, and it's so simple but effective. And then number 2 is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which will be no surprise to anybody because I think it is one of the best books I have ever read. I was so worried about reading it because everyone said I would love it and everyone on Booktube loves it, but it is one of those books that from the minute you start reading it you get hooked. It's atmospheric. I didn't really understand what people were talking about du Maurier's sense of atmosphere until I read that book. I was fully invested. I didn't see the plot twists coming, which usually I'm quite good at being able to find them, but it's just so well executed. And I think I've read a lot of books since then that have tried to do a Rebecca kind of novel and just not succeeded, but that one was just flawless. And then number 1, which will be no surprise to anybody ever, is The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides, because that book I still obsess about at points. Not an unhealthy amount, but it's just a book that I always go back to when people talk about their favourite books and books that they've loved. That book did change me. Since I've read it, I have been so preoccupied and fascinated by how it can get under your skin. And a lot of these books that are in my top 10 are books that have got under my skin, like Lolita and Lullaby, Revolutionary Road, Perfume, Rebecca, The Virgin Suicides. Characters that still haunt me, that I didn't want to leave, and they were dark and sometimes they were messed up, but I was infatuated with them when I read the book. So that is my top 10. Jason and I have finally done it, so hopefully you can get some stats out of that. And thank you so much, Jasmine, for tagging me. I'm not going to tag anybody specifically because I know so many people have been tagged, and I'm sure Jason has been super effective at hounding you guys to do it as well. So anybody who wants to do it, because I know that Jason wants to get as many booktubers as possible to participate in it. But that is mine. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to be alerted to when any of my future videos come out. And I'll see you guys very soon. Bye now.